The Red Sox hottest prospect may be the best asset the Red Sox have. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. The MLB Deadline's creeping up right here. It's only 12 days away from the time that we are recording this video, and for the Red Sox, it feels like every day that goes by puts them one step closer into the buying category, which puts them in a little bit of a predicament here that could end up with the Red Sox having to trade the hottest prospect they have in their system. So what we are going to do in today's videos, we're going to break that down a bit. We're going to look at the Red Sox hottest prospect, Kristian Campbell, and why he could be a perfect asset for the Red Sox to trade at this year's deadline. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. The situation with the Red Sox and where they are at the deadline right now is a really interesting one. For starters, we don't still technically know whether or not the Red Sox are going to buy or sell. Now, it feels like every sign in the world is pointing towards them buying at this year's deadline. If they end up in that position, they're in a pretty interesting one because they're probably not looking to make a blockbuster deal, which in my opinion means moving any of the big three prospects. They've already sort of committed themselves to all three of those guys, and it feels like they are going to see them through to the major league level. What this means for the Red Sox is in order to get anyone really impactful on this Red Sox team, they're either going to have to do one of two options. That's either sell from their young pool of talent at the major league level or head into their second tier of prospects and find their most valuable asset there. And there are a couple of problems that arise with this situation. The first is that the Red Sox right now, in terms of their biggest need, is also the hottest commodity on the market. Right now in Major League Baseball, because of where teams are at and the third wild card spot, there are a lot of teams right now who are teetering on the edge of playoff contention, which means there probably aren't going to be a ton of sellers at this year's deadline, creating a seller's market. For the Red Sox and their search of starting pitching, there are going to be 100 other teams looking for starting pitching as well, which is going to make it, again, a really hot commodity. And that's going to sort of force the Red Sox hand a bit. They're going to have to give up something they are either uncomfortable giving up or something that's pretty impactful. The other problem with this is if they do end up deciding to trade from a pool of major league players, this could end up sort of breaking even for the Red Sox, right? If you trade a major league asset for another major league asset, it might work out in the short term, but in the long term, it may end up creating a hole somewhere else and not really moving the needle enough to really push this team in the direction that they're going to want them to go in, which it kind of leaves just one option for the Boston Red Sox, and that is trying to look within their second tier of prospects. I'm talking guys basically from 4 through 10 on their prospect rankings to see if there is anything worth value there in terms of trying to find a decent trade partner to really improve this club. That's where this all sort of lands on Kristian Campbell, because Campbell is having the season of his life right now in the Red Sox farm system. He's currently in Double-A Portland, where he's putting up a video game-esque 407 with a ridiculous 507 on base percentage, meaning he's getting on base more than he's getting out this year, and a 627 slug, good for a 219 WRC plus, 119% more productive at the plate than the average hitter in Double-A. He is also good for 4 home runs, 32 RBIs, and 12 doubles in just 32 games. This season has found Kristian Campbell really moving up Red Sox prospect rankings. On SoxProspect.com, he went from the 22nd best prospect in the Red Sox system to their 5th best prospect. And Baseball America recently also put him in their top 100 prospect list. You're starting to see a real development here with Kristian Campbell, which could end up being absolutely perfect for the Boston Red Sox, because there are a couple of things that could end up holding Kristian Campbell back from being an impact bat at the major league level. The first one is that he has a bit of a rocky road when it comes to finding playing time at the majors. As a second baseman and a center fielder, he's got a lot of competition when it comes to getting actual playing time, not only with players who are already on this team, like say Don Rafael Rafaela, Jarren Duran in center field, but also David Hamilton, Vaughn Grissom at second base, and you've got other prospects to compete with as well. Roman Anthony, Braden Montgomery, who the Red Sox just acquired, Nick York, who's fighting for a second base spot right now, and others are also making it a bit cloudy for Kristian Campbell to get to Major League Baseball, and more specifically, get legitimate playing time at the Major League level. The other issue here is that Kristian Campbell does have some questions as to whether or not he can continue to produce the way he's producing. A lot of analysts and scouts believe that Kristian Campbell's violent swing and unorthodox swing motion may end up causing him some problems as he gets a larger sample size in AA and as he gets towards Major League Baseball. And I kind of hate assuming that a prospect is going to fail, especially with a guy who's been labeled as a violent swing, because the face of your franchise right now is also someone who throughout his minor league career was considered to have a too violent swing to be super successful at the Major League level. The problem here is not everyone is Rafael Devers, and if the Red Sox have any sort of concern as to where Kristian Campbell could end up in terms of his swing mechanics, combined with the fact that he has a little bit of a cloudy path to Major League Baseball, it could create the perfect opportunity for the Red Sox to find value in an asset that is both an area of depth and someone that they could sell high on. Just a quick interruption to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. We talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Sorry for the interruption. Let's get back to the video. So if they are looking for a trade at some point in the near future, something that would make a legitimate impact on this Red Sox team, Kristian Campbell may end up being their most viable option. Not only is he worth about $18.1 million in trade value, according to baseballtradevalues.com, which I say every time, look, it's not a perfect science. There are going to be other factors that are included that baseball trade values just simply does not equate for, but it is a good starting point as to what the value could end up being. But he's also the 12th best value in the Red Sox farm system and on the Red Sox team right now. He is the really only person outside of your big three and players at the Major League level. Again, he's sort of that, hey, we don't want to deal from the major leagues. We don't want to deal from our top tier. This is the best of the second tier type prospects the Boston Red Sox have. Now, the question is, what could he bring back in return? Well, maybe not alone, but as the centerpiece of a trade, he could start opening up some really interesting targets for the Boston Red Sox. Guys like Jack Flaherty of the Detroit Tigers could be on the Red Sox radar if they're willing to part with a player like Kristian Campbell. Eric Fetty for Kristian Campbell and maybe one or two supplemental pieces is also something that gets put on the table once you involve Kristian Campbell. And guys like Nick Lodolo or Andrew Abbott of the Cincinnati Reds, who's sort of a bit of a different situation because it's not the innings-eating proven talent that we want the Red Sox to target at this year's deadline, but is someone who has a really high ceiling and a pretty decent amount of control. I don't think Kristian Campbell would be enough included in a trade for sort of the upper echelon of players probably available at this year's deadline, like a Garrett Crochet, but if the Red Sox are looking for that middle tier talent, which we've talked about a lot on this channel as being something where it might not turn the page for you, might not excite you as much as a Garrett Crochet would, but would absolutely help this Red Sox team both now and in the long run, Kristian Campbell ends up being a pretty premium player in terms of trying to get that talent. The idea of trading anyone of true value with the Boston Red Sox, especially when you break down who Kristian Campbell could be at the Major League level, is a bit scary, especially because the Red Sox are finally in a really good place, both in the majors and in the minors. It's been a while since we've had both things sort of working in unison, and to screw that up even a little bit is a bit of a scary thought. But at some point, the Red Sox and fans themselves have to get a bit uncomfortable with what they're going to have to give away, especially if they're looking to make a legitimate impact at this year's deadline, because again, it's going to be a seller's market, which means the Red Sox are going to have to give up someone that they might not normally want to give up. And if they really aren't willing to part with the top three prospects in this system, which I personally do think is a good idea, they've hedged their bets, they've decided to commit to some players in this organization or in this system. And I think at some point you're going to have to make a decision on everybody else. If everyone else is on the table, Kristian Campbell definitely becomes your most valuable asset. And the names that we threw out there as possible targets for this Red Sox team would all really help in improving their biggest problem going forward throughout the rest of the season. The Red Sox have the #1 hardest schedule according to win percentages left for the 2024 season. They're going to need to get help in here, and that's going to cost something. And if you aren't going to be willing to part with the big three in your system, and you don't really want to move anyone from the major league team, which again does make sense because it would just be creating a hole somewhere else. And unless you're willing to give up Wilyer Abreu, Jarren Duran, or Tristan Casas, which I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable doing, at least not yet. We'll talk about Wilyer maybe in another video. I think Kristian Campbell makes the most sense for this Red Sox team, and that's why it's very plausible, in my opinion, that the Red Sox hottest prospect also becomes their biggest value at the deadline and ultimately becomes a trade piece for the Boston Red Sox. If the Red Sox can turn what has become a absolutely mind-blowingly good season from Kristian Campbell into a legitimate piece for the Red Sox to either compete this year or the Red Sox to compete both this year and in the future, I think it absolutely is worth that deal. And I think Kristian Campbell could end up being the Red Sox most valuable asset, but that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Would you trade Kristian Campbell if you were given the opportunity to? And if not, who would you try and replace them with? And is it someone that you think could get similar values? Let me know all your thoughts on the possibility of the Red Sox trading their hottest prospect in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Don't forget, you can always get these episodes in podcast form if you want to listen instead of watch. All you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio, or check the links in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.